What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Elevation here with another episode of the JBP Elevated, where we speak on the Joe Budden podcast and all of his co-hosts on and outside the pod. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. Y'all showed up on that last episode. I appreciate y'all. Keep taking these hiatuses. Y'all keep showing up. I guess we're all just invested in the Joe Budden podcast. Hey, salute to all the haters, man. Salute to everybody that comes on the page and talks madness, but constantly engages with the page. I appreciate y'all, because y'all be the reason y'all push through the algorithm. But anyway, we're going to talk on Mel. I'm not even going to waste y'all time today. We are going to speak on Hot and Bothered. Do y'all think she's going to come out and it's just going to be a success off the rip? Do you think that initially people are going to watch just to see what it is that she's talking about? Or do you think she's just going to flop all the way around? I don't know. I don't see this ending well. I don't see this being a venture off of the JBP. Supposedly this is supposed to be an extension. And Joe vehemently is telling us he has nothing to do with this. But like I said last time, or I aforementioned in my Mark Lamont Hill episode, this is his baby, quote unquote. But he's not going to have any overhead, meaning he's not going to have any oversight on what it is that Melyssa's speaking about, who she brings on her podcast. She doesn't have to run the topics through Joe, but absolutely he will be receiving the compensation for this. You don't get to come to my podcast and build your brand up, because that's seemingly what you did. You had a little cachet when you were on the Hollywood, whatever that shit is, with Jason Lee, and then he dissed you and got rid of you. And you came to the JBP, shined your light to a different demographic, and you were able to grow. Hopefully, that is shown through your Hot and Bothered podcast. I find it funny that you had another podcast that didn't even see the light of day already get canceled. You have to come up with a different iteration of it because you can't keep your friendships in check. And it sounds messed up to say it like that, but if you're the face of the podcast and you're the one that's going to be spending all the money on the podcast, when it comes to the revenue splits, you shouldn't have to hear what your partner has to say if you aren't 50-50 partners. And this is something that happens a lot in all these podcast ventures. And Joe seemingly is going through it again with his different iteration of the JBP. This is going to be like the 5th iteration of the JBP. Quiet as kept. Everybody has rotating cast on shows. And how many times have I equated the JBP to a talk show? But anyway, you talking talk show. Melyssa has the personality of a talk show host. And that's not a good thing when it comes to podcasts. She knows how to speak well and articulate herself and use words that normally aren't used in everyday jargon to make it sound like she is intelligent, which is what a TV anchor would do. Before they segue to the meteorologist or the weatherman. Hi, this is Melyssa Ford. In today's news at 5 p.m., she's one of them. And hopefully she doesn't lead her podcast. Hopefully she doesn't lead her podcast like that. Because I see her trying to get her shit off on the Patreon episodes. The couple of times she leads, she'll start off with some of these bullshit ass relationship topics. And now that I see her leading whenever she's on the Patreon, and that's the first thing she divulges or starts off with, I'm curious how many of these topics on the whiteboard are hers that pertain to relationships. And the JBP has been speaking on relationships for like the past 6 months, and you can read it in the Patreon comments. Niggas is getting tired of that shit. Tired. So please don't tell me this is what you're going to start the podcast off with. Your last title was Menopod, so that already is starting off with a small demo. But just because you change the title doesn't mean you change the topics that are going to be on your podcast. So I'm very curious. Your 50-year-old ass hopefully doesn't get on some bird shit and just continually speak on fucking and relationships. Because you can't speak on a relationship or the maturity of a relationship, because instead of having one fruitful, long relationship, whenever Melyssa speaks on relationships, it's always her speaking on multiple partners and things that happen in different relationships. And people the people that I tend to take advice from in relationships have gone through the spectrum of good and bad in a relationship, but with one or two people, not the world. It's hard to speak on experiences in relationships and how people act differently in different things when you're doing these things with different people. When you have an experience or an experiment, don't you have to have a variable, controlled variable? What's your controlled variable if every story you tell is with a different entity? So I'd be curious to see what type of information she's going to give pertaining to a relationship. But that's just me, and that may sound like hate, but this is a real thoughts of mine. If you're going to be coming out with a podcast, your first podcast was titled Menopod. Now it's Hot and Bothered. What are you going to speak on outside of relationship topics? And I said this a couple of months ago. I told y'all, what is it that Melyssa can sell outside of her face and her body? And she's already trying that on the JBP, which is why she uses the vocabulary that she uses. She's trying to show that it's extensive. A lot of people misconstrue having a vast vocabulary as intelligence. And eventually it's going to come to the light that people that sound smart aren't as smart as they portray themselves as. So hopefully she's able to make the shift, because she hasn't successfully made it with her venture on the JBP. And according to her, Joe's going to have to fire her. So we're still going to see her on the JBP. I believe this is a part of the JBN umbrella, even though he's not going to acknowledge it anytime soon. It's going to be aforementioned because business and his name, the ties aren't positive ties. So in order to not sully future endeavors, I'm not going to attach my name to any of my business ventures. Not any of them, because you don't see him attaching his name to In the Trenches. He's hoping that could come afloat again whenever Zaire gets more consistent with it. And then once it does, hey, you already know I'm the brains behind this. But here's the real nitty gritty of why I wanted to make this video. Everybody is coming up with reasons behind Flip's possible suspension, because Joe is speaking on it on today's Patreon episode that Flip is an insubordinate ass nigga and he should have been suspended, but he's not firing this nigga or doing anything unless he hits one of his co-hosts. When they were speaking on what Flip did, because everybody is equating this to something that I don't think it's equated to. When they were speaking on Flip's response, they said that he was respectful and that he didn't raise his voice or anything. What else could that possibly be? Hey, why was Melyssa, quote unquote, sent home? Talking about her shoulder hurts or she's sick or whatever excuse Joe gave. Me personally, I think Flip said something that was sensitive to Mel on top of the reasoning that Danny gave in his video from today. Because he said Mel got sent home because she was drunk. I think Flip said something sensitive or insensitive in this manner or case that got her off the rocker and she exploded. So they had to edit that whole thing out, because I thought that was a weird jump cut that they did. It's like, and we're back. Melyssa unfortunately got sick, woo-de-woo. I think Flip said something respectfully that was insensitive enough to where Melyssa went off her rocker. But that's conspiracy elevation speaking. I don't fucking have any facts. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Everything is speculation. But to me, it makes the most sense. And Joe speaking on Flip not being able to get fired, man, I'm getting better at staying on topic. This is a Melyssa video. If y'all want to hear what I have to say on Flip and Joe's relationship, y'all let me know in the comments. But I appreciate y'all for rocking with your boy. I'm not going to make this video too long. I got my thoughts off and I don't want to continue the diatribe or the hate train on Melyssa Ford. So I apologize. I appreciate y'all for rocking with your boy. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you follow your boy on Facebook, Lavelle J. Ellis. Make sure you follow your boy on TikTok, B-Bar Elevation, and on YouTube, B-Bar Elevation. And until next time, y'all be safe out here. Peace.